Hi, today I'm going to teach you how to make a fabric face mask with a lot of really nice features that healthcare workers are looking for, but also works well for home use. And the first thing that you need to do after you cut your pieces is make your straps. And I prefer to make the straps out of fabric that tie around rather than using elastic, because there's issues with elastic such as limited availability right now. It rubs the ears raw when you wear it for a long time over your ears, and there's people that are allergic to it because it does contain latex. So I really suggest that you do the fabric ties, and you only need one thing other than the sewing machine and thread to make these masks, which is fabric. So it just simplifies everything. So the first step is going to be making your these into ties. So your strips, there's many ways to make these, and I'm just going to show you one right here, and maybe I'll do a video later to show you more. But basically you fold the outer edges in to the middle so that they touch about, and then fold it in half again, and then you would just run that through the sewing machine on this edge here and sew that down. And I'm not going to do that now because it takes a little bit of time, and I've already done it for my strips. But so I'm just going to go on to sewing the mask. And so I have two pieces of fabric here cut, and the dimensions are in the pattern, the written pattern, which is available here somewhere. And the first thing you do is place your pattern pieces right side together, and on the fabric that you can see you're marking on, I mark 1.5 inch mark from each end so that I know where to start and stop my stitching. And then I'm going to sew, everything's a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm going to sew from the edge of the fabric backwards first to my 1.5 inch marking. Oops, or a little further in that case. Oh my goodness, making a video with mistakes in it. As I say, it's art, make it work. So I'm just going to go up to the next mark and start there. And finish off that seam. And you notice on here I did serge these edges, and that's optional. You do sew them down, so they are potentially could fray, but not as likely because you sew them down in other steps. So if you have a serger, do a quick serge. If you don't worry about it. I find it's actually easier to trim my threads as I go along than all at the end. And then this part I do like to iron. I always iron my sewing flat before I iron it open. And you just want to iron this open. I find that it's faster than trying to finger press it for this step. Okay, and then if you notice here, we have two different fabrics, and one piece is shorter than the other. The shorter side is the inside, and so I'm going to top stitch just the inside along this opening edge that I just made. Just go all the way across it. And that is forming our pocket opening. I didn't cut it. Okay. Now the next step is to make our pleats, and I make the pleats on the front, and this is a jig to help make the pleats easy. You can also measure. I will have a separate video and instructions on how to make this jig, but to use the jig you put your fabric right side up where the arrow is at the starting point, and you get it all the way up there, and then you fold this down and you push this up so that it's tight against there but not strained. Pull that back down, fold the flap. These jigs really do improve your time, and they don't take very long to make. All you need is a cereal box and some tape. And so now I'm just going to baste the edges. Well, I'm not changing it to a basting stitch, but you know, a temporary stitch on these pleats to get them to stay in place. And I sew about 1/8 inch away from the edge. And I started with the front piece, and I will pleat the back piece next. One reason to use different color fabrics is so you can tell which is the front and the back. another reason is so that the workers can tell which is the front and the back. So it makes it easier and quicker for them to get on the mask when they're using it. And it makes it look cute too. Third bonus. Okay. So same folding process. Now this time I'm going to attach my ties as I do these pleats. When you first start making these masks, you might want to do them in a separate step. I'm measuring off 16 inches of the ties and giving them a cut. The 16 inches is the bottom ties because they're going around the neck, and what's left is 20 inches for the top ties that go around the head. So I'm going to take a 16-inch one and I'm going to place it just a scant more than a 1/4 inch away from the bottom raw edge of this mask, and just sew it down as I'm sewing my pleats down. Sometimes I use my seam ripper as my third hand here to make sure those plates stay in place. And then the top one, there's a seam here of a 1/4 inch, and if you just place the top one right so the top of the tie is where that 1/4 inch, you can feel the 1/4 inch seam coming down there, then you've got it in the wrong place. And you see I adjusted my foot because it was starting to push that tie forward. So usually seam, and then I stick these through the pocket opening to get them out of my way. I turn this around, and now we start with the long one up at the top. Pull this over so my pleats are straight. And again, I'm putting it a 1/4 inch away from that seam, or right along so there's the seam allowance on the underside that's a 1/4 inch wide. So I put this right at the edge of that. I hope you guys understand that. Okay, sew down this, tacking your pleats, and when you get down here, put it a little, more than like 3/8 inch, because your presser foot will want to push it forward. Even no matter what you do, it wants to push it forward. So now I got it about a 1/4 inch. Close enough. Close enough. Okay, and again, stick those ties through the pocket. Now take off your jig and fold this in half, right sides together. Fold this up where you attach that tie. That should be about in half. Check, make sure everything looks like it's lined up good. And sew around this with a 1/4 inch starting at the top here. And I can tell when I've passed that tie. Try to keep the end of this tie a little straight so that it comes out on the side rather than an angle. And you might be wondering why I made the front and back pleats separate. One is for ease of putting this together. It makes the sides a lot less bulkier to wear too. Another is for ease of putting a filter in. It's a lot easier to open up the pocket and get a filter in there if they desire to put additional protection. So it's pretty easy to turn right side out rather. I'm always doing that. And now there's two options. You can top stitch all the way around, which is what I'm going to show you how to do, or you can just top stitch the channel for the nose wire. So it's a little faster to just do the nose wire, but I think it improves the durability and the neatness if you go ahead and top stitch the whole thing. So you start up here. This is the back side of the mask, which becomes very clear because it has the different color channel, and you start up at the top and you go down. That makes the end of your channel. And you go across here. Nope, I did it wrong. Shoot, well, way to mess up during a video, okay? I'll pick that out later. maybe, or just leave it in. Sorry, you go this way. That's what happens when you try to videotape while you're sewing. Okay, across the top, rather, instead of across the bottom. I suppose it would have worked either way, but got to do it the right way since I'm on video. Just making sure everything's pretty smooth here. And I use my ties to help me turn these corners, because you know sometimes where there's a lot of bulk, it's hard to turn. Okay. And pull out this bottom a little bit. And I can pull on that tie. And in this case, I find it's easier to just use my fingers than take this to the iron to try to pull out all that. And then here, getting over that lump. And then right there, a little pressure, a little pulling needed to get over the lumps there. We go all the way up to the top. And then turn. I got a little too close to the top. Turn. And then you see where this opening is. I'm going to stop going across right where that opening starts. And I'm going to go down just shy of where that seam is. And then come across here along the bottom. So I'm closing up the top casing here. And I'm going to stop about 3/4 of an inch from the end. Now, I could slide a wire in here right now and then close it up, but I'm going to leave this opening here so people can take this wire in and out as they need. So if it's a wire that doesn't wash well, they can take it out. I'll probably just leave that there. Or if it breaks, or they don't like the wire, or they like a different kind of wire, it just makes it easier for the person. So, where's my wire? It's real easy. This is a floral wire with the ends turned, to put a wire in there and it stays, and then they can take it out. And here's where I'll show you how easy it is to open up this pocket to get something in. You don't have to fight the pleats and stuff. And then I'll show you one here where I just did the casing and still left the opening. So the rest of it's not top stitched, but the casing is. And that is how to make a fabric face mask that is very user friendly and wash and wear. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial.